Welcome. We're
Hi.
learning. We're learning live stream. This is
How are
attempt
we
2.
looking?
Okay.
Okay, let's close that.
So yeah. We're here.
Hey, welcome to Wisdom Ways YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Marian Diaz. I'm the director of Wisdom Ways Center for Spirituality. And I'm here
Yes, I'm Carly Swenson. I'm the communication strategist for Wisdom Ways. So I'm the one who designed the magazine that just came out with the gratitude issue. So I'm going to turn on the light.
And that is what we're going to talk about today. We're just going to share a few pieces, highlights from the catalog, and talk you through some of our offerings briefly. But also, we just sort of wanted to make sure that this was working.
Yes, that we know how to do this. So
great, awesome.
Yes,
good.
What should we start with?
So, the theme, just to kind of set the theme and sort of share with you, Wisdom Ways does put out a mailed catalog twice a year. They're generally coming out in December and then again in August. So we're talking about our autumn 2022 catalog today. And Wisdom Ways itself is sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet, the St. Paul province. So we're just really grateful for their support across the board in terms of our mission and financially in terms of the work that we're doing. So
we have gratitude for that.
Yes, we do.
See?
We do. So let me just start by talking about some of the different offerings on our website in general. And one of the things that we offer is spiritual care. So you'll notice that if you go to our website and see the spiritual care tab at the top, the link, you can go in and find resources for spiritual direction. Sometimes people refer to it as spiritual companioning, and we have a few that are listed on our website. And you can book spiritual companioning or life coaching with myself. And we also offer spiritual companioning groups, which I love. And at this point, we have 2 groups running for women. They meet monthly for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we just share something around what's going on in our life. And we dig a little bit deeper into those experiences. We are going to be having next Thursday night on Zoom a spiritual sounding boards event, which is an hour-long online conversation with some of our spiritual directors and coaches. So you can just sort of jump on and ask questions. And what is it?
Just get a better understanding.
Yeah, have no idea and might be really intimidated by this word. Spiritual direction, spiritual companioning.
I did before I started working here.
And it can just be a really helpful approach, especially now at a time when people need more support.
For sure.
And someone to really just listen to them. That's kind of the first step of it. So, and then we just also just to consider, if you want to do a morning retreat or an afternoon retreat, you can come spend time with us in Carondelet Center and be in our library. Depending on the weather, you could walk the labyrinths and have some time for reflection. So, maybe you want to talk about the media page a little bit?
Yeah,
some of those resources?
We have a media page. If you go there, you'll find several featured YouTube videos, and then you'll also find our blog, which is very exciting. We started that this year. About once, twice a month, either one of our staff or we have some guest writers as well who are just offer various perspectives on spirituality, on their own personal experiences, and just kind of, all the various ways you can be human and make a meaningful life with that. So we've discussed George Floyd, we discussed self-care, we discussed traveling out of your comfort zone, a lot of fun, interesting stuff. So that's worth checking out. And then if you scroll down further, you'll see some PDF downloads, which include things like artist date ideas, affirmation lists, and then various checklists. So self-care checklists, self-soothing checklists, and also journaling prompts. So if you want to focus on boundaries or gratitude for yourself or go check it out. There's a bunch of stuff there, and those are all free and for you to use because I like making that stuff and I like making it available. So feel free to check that out. It's our media page.
And just one more thing. So we did mention in the catalog also, and we have finally been able to launch our first e-course, which is for sale. So if you look at the top of the website, far to the right, there's a tab, a little button for e-learning. And so that will take you into Thinkific, where we have some free content. You just make a little account there. And we also have, now we're offering our first course, which is an introduction to the Enneagram by Scott McRae. And I myself have been involved in doing Enneagram work, actually kind of nerdy since I was pretty young because my parents were into it. So yeah, it's a little bit scary. I'm not going to say my age or how many years, but it's been a while. And I even went in and just, have been listening to the content is amazing. If you have no idea what the Enneagram is, it's a great, great, great starting point.
Yes.
And so just encourage you to look at that. It's to do it at your own pace. Exactly. And you can, as people join in, you can engage in discussion, but you don't have to. There's nothing sort of in terms of the timing that you have to do or that's assigned. It's just more for your own self-exploration. So that's all.
You'll also find we have men's centering prayer, which men's centering prayer. They meet twice a month on the first Wednesdays at 7:30. It's free for any people who identify as male. You're welcome to join them, and they have their resources there, also free. And it has a brochure explaining what centering prayer is, as well as various like poetry or verse, stuff like that, because they usually share something to kind of contemplate on, and then they have some shared silence, and then they kind of share their experiences as well, which is wonderful to have a compassionate, supportive space for men. So if that interests you, that's a little place you can go check out some of that too.
Awesome. So again, just to feature a couple of the things that we still have coming up this fall, a lot of things have started already and are in process. So it's too late to join, but we have one piece that I'm really excited about is a small, we're looking at like a 3-hour session on cultivating inner compassion, and it's really an experiential workshop, and it's offered by Jean Haley and Jane Roundhorse. So that's Saturday, November 19th from 9 to noon, and really giving just some time to yourself to step back and think about those inner voices that we all have.
Oh, yeah.
That nitpick at us or criticize us. And so it's beginning to teach you and help you practice just treating yourself like you would a good friend, treating yourself and understanding the challenges that you're dealing with and having compassion around that. So a lot of times we just think, we have to push ourselves harder. And it seems like a bit of a paradox, but actually if you lighten up a little bit,
things are smoother.
Then you have more capacity to deal with the challenges that life is bringing.
Yeah. So I took a 6-week, it was once a week workshop with those two, and they are just lovely instructors, inspiring women. I'm super excited that we're able to offer something with them, and I just highly recommend it from my own experience. So by all means, check that out.
Awesome. So another piece, and as we're going through the fall, we're experimenting. You'll notice that some of our offerings are online, some are on site, and some are hybrid. And one of the offerings that we have that's only on site will be a series of retreats that the first one will be held the last weekend in October. And they are Circle of Trust seasonal retreats that will be offered by Winton Boyd and Sarah Thompson and Paula Peterson. I don't know if you've heard of Sarah as a great musician, Paula as well. They're just phenomenal musicians who will be leading these series of retreats. So there will be a fall, a winter, and a spring retreat. You can go to one, you can go to all three. And they're going to be running from the Fridays so this will be Friday, October 28th at 4 p.m. through Sunday at noon. Now, we do have a few spaces on site in Carondelet Center for you to stay if you'd like to, but otherwise you could just stay wherever you are, come during the day, and we'll be providing meals during the day for you. So in terms of the themes of those retreats, the first one in terms of the fall is identified as leaf falling and bud forming, coming home to the paradoxes of autumn. And I know, Carly, you really love
Yeah,
the principles that they run by.
So if this seems interesting to you, the guiding principles of this process include open and honest questions and appreciation for the paradoxes in life, like you just mentioned with the compassion, that everyone has an inner teacher and that there's a hidden wholeness that underlines our lives. And I know just personally, as I've kind of grown into a more, compassionate, authentic person, those are really driving principles. So if you haven't played around with them, come and do that. And if you have, come do it some more. It should be wonderful. Should I mention the men's exploring?
Yeah.
Yeah. So another one coming up for those who identify as male is exploring the qualities of your authentic manhood with Jeffrey Janetta Wark and Terry Shaughnessy. This is a 2-session event course, and it just helps create interesting dialogue about how masculinity is presented in culture versus maybe how you might feel as you interact with the world, and how there's certain acceptable emotions and certain acceptable traits, why that is, and maybe ways to kind of deconstruct some of those limitations to emotional vulnerability and that sort of stuff. Dealing with grief, desire, wisdom, beauty, and just reflecting on authentic manhood. So that's another good one. And that starts on October 6th. So it's coming up if you want to register. And it is in person or online currently, I believe. So, yeah.
That's great.
Any more? Religions is coming up.
Yeah, we're continuing. We're doing a series of religions of Southeast Asia. And so we've had one already, which was on Jainism.
Yep.
That was the first one. Yep. Which was highly attended.
Yes.
So that was a fantastic one. And the next 2 that we have coming up, one is on Buddhism and one is on Hinduism. So these will be respectively October 6th on Buddhism and November 3rd on Hinduism. So these are offered online and in person as well. So they're hybrid. These sessions that we do on different faith traditions are free. We just want people to continue to learn about faith traditions in a broad way, to become more open and accepting and understanding of our differences around religion. So really encourage you to join for that series. So that is full.
Yeah.
A couple things were like,
we have some things that sold out.
Oh, I can talk to you. Oh, maybe actually you want to talk about those a little
and then
bit.
you can do
Yeah.
Perfect. So another thing coming up that's newer that people are really excited about, we have a couple courses with astrology. We have Exploring Astrology as a Spiritual Practice with Peggy Foster. And this is 3 sessions. This one is in person only. So if you're interested, check that out. It will start on October 13th. And astrology is an ancient tool that combines astronomy, the cycles of the earth, wisdom traditions, sacred geometry, mythology, psychology, and most of all, your connection with the divine or the cosmos or the creator or God or whatever works for you. And it's just, she had an intro class in the spring and it was just wonderful. So I highly recommend that. Again, I also went to that one. And then in November, starting November 3rd, we have a 2-session course, which is online only. And that's also with Peggy Foster, and that is Exploring the Energy of the Planet. So that kind of has to do with how they cycle and journey and how, even those cycles can cause prompts to reflect or prompts to kind of figure out where you are in your life. And maybe it's a season for emotional hibernation, or maybe it's a time to plant seeds for action later, that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of reflection in relation to the greater world.
Awesome. So I am going to be running in October, starting October 6th and going into November, a 5-week reading discussion group of a book by Robert Holden entitled Lovability. And this is really also about knowing how to both love and to be loved, right? Looking at that dynamic. So, excuse me, it's a bit of looking at those questions and the relationship of how really, in a sense, we have to be loving ourselves to actually be capable of loving other people. I always say, as a Christian who was raised Catholic, a lot of times we get that great commandment, a bit wrong, I would say, and we misunderstand it. Because really it does say to love your neighbor as yourself, right? That's the second part of it. And so, but we're not sort of raised that way. We're not taught to think that way about love. We're sort of spiritually enculturated into this sense that love has to mean, sacrifice in an extreme way. But really, the more you go into understanding, knowing, accepting, and loving yourself, the more of yourself that you're going to bring into your relationships, into whatever form of service that you're offering, maybe professionally or relationally to the world. And so I sort of too look at Wisdom Ways maybe a little bit as like a school of love. Like, how are we really sort of growing in this area? So I chose this book, which is more of a popular read. It's not highly like theological or anything. And he's got some great exercises in there, which I love, that are gonna
highlight some
challenge
of that
you.
yourself.
Challenge you in a good way to grow around that. So I just invite you to join us, and hopefully we'll have some great discussions and engage in exploration together.
And that one is 5 sessions
online? That one's 5 sessions online only. So we'll only be on Zoom, and starting October 6th over the noon hour. So it's a good time if you have lunch little break on Thursdays.
Oh, and our spirituality library is open again. So after COVID and all that, we do have some new books in, which is exciting if you want to check that out. If you are interested in renting any of our materials, great. I would recommend if you go on our website first to the resources page, and if you scroll down a little bit, it'll have a thing about the library, and it'll say like register for online or something along those lines. Click on that, submit your information, and then that way, ideally, when you come in, you'll already be in the system, and it'll be pretty easy and quick for you. But it is open the same hours of the Carondelet Center, which I believe are like 8 to 8:30 now even. So they're
depending on when events are available, it's open. But generally at least 8 to 4. I don't know.
At least 8 to 4, but I know that there's definitely more evening activities happening too. So so that's our bulk of that.
So, one of the things that maybe we just end with, at the end of our catalog, we wanted to do some questions for reflection. And of course, they're on gratitude, which is our topic for this period of time. And, one of the questions that I think is important for us to keep reflecting on, and we had phrased this as, what growth have you seen in yourself during the COVID-19 pandemic that you are grateful for? So just invite you to really think about that. What changes have you made in your life? How have you grown? And is there gratitude around that for you and yourself?
I know for me, I've gotten a lot more into like appreciating self-care as like my home spa time, my time to really nurture myself, where previously that stuff had been very like, I mean, I like taking care of myself, of course, but it always kind of felt like a drag too. Like, oh, I have to always put on lotion, and I have to, whatever, do my nails.
More like a chore.
Yes, a chore. And I realized kind of starting to regiment it as in like, oh, okay, this is when I'm gonna, really take care and have a face, like do a face mask and blah, blah, blah. And by having those as like my little treats of like ways to appreciate myself and like express gratitude that like my body keeps me alive and moves me around in the world. I really started to reframe that during the pandemic, just because it kind of gave me, one, a sense of routine, which was really nice. And then also just kind of appreciating things, that I am able to have access to when things are rough. So that was a big one for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, actually for me, COVID and this pandemic enabled me to make major life changes at a faster rate than I was able to do. I had been living in Chicago and working in Chicago, and it was due to the pandemic that more and more work went online. People became flexible about where their employees had to be and when they had to be there. And I was able to find the job at Wisdom Ways and get back to St. Paul, just about a year and a half earlier than I was planning to. I knew I would want to make this change eventually. But I think in some ways too, it can, when you're facing rough situations, and certainly I have friends who have lost family members and we're facing some serious, cases of long COVID and those types of things. It really asks you the question, why wait? Why wait? And so when this possibility opened up, I'm like, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to jump on it and make this change. So really there's a way also you can enhance, certainly I enhance the self-care too.
Yeah.
But because I was dealing with a lot, and it's also just this question of like, what really matters in life, and what are we willing to do about it to create the lives that we want to have. So on top of that change, I'm definitely grateful for the team, for the Wisdom Ways team.
We're glad for you too.
I'm grateful for this digital studio that you are in, and that we have this technology, and we can really try to develop outreach in terms of meeting people's spiritual needs.
For sure. So I'm also grateful for our wonderful Wisdom Ways community.
That's right. All of you.
Yes.
All of you.
I think that's
Thanks
it.
for joining us.
Yes.